Good morning. At the dome, the time will be 1, 2, 3, 4. Exactly.
Woke up this morning without a warning. Words were still ringing in my head. It came, it seemed within my dream, a gentle voice, and this is what it said. Stop now, you got to stop and listen to what I say. Stop and feel that you've been missing along the way. Put aside your petty fight, serve your dignity. You've got to show the heart that you've been hiding and set it free. There's just one door, the world gone wrong. We all need love, and if the cure for one is the cure for us all, there's an urgent message trying to reach you. Excuse yourself and pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. It came the same way the very next day. The words they just kept on coming through. Hard to conceive if you believe me. This is what you really want to do. You got to tune into your inner being.
Welcome to the 100th Monkey Radio with Tom and Ramon. Wow, we are recording this one on March 25th, 2014. And, man, I'll tell you what, energetically, I think things are starting to pick up again, Ramon. It felt kind of, I don't know, it felt kind of flat for a couple of months as far as what I was able to perceive. I know a lot of stuff was going on out there. And there's a lot of things that are moving and shaking out there in the world and in the woo-woo world, so to say. And even in the energy fields, there's a lot of things coming up to the surface now. That magnetic motor stuff has really got me excited. I mentioned on the show last week that I'm working on developing or kind of R&D, rip off and how's that go? Rip off and duplicate. So some stuff off YouTube that has got some pretty good layouts that I've been able to figure out with my limited intelligence and I think I got things rolling. So anyways, I'm hoping to have something here in the next couple of months put together that shows me that this stuff works in my own little house. And I've even got a generator that I'm willing to willing to cannibalize and steal the generator motor out of and get things hooked up here.
That would actually be amazing. It almost seems like that's the way it's gonna happen. Like you're just gonna go down to your neighbor's house and say, "Hey, can I get one of those?" And okay, give me a week, I'll make you one. Right.
It's the grassroots stuff. The garage inventors. They're the ones that are going to be putting it out. And if you get on YouTube and start poking around, there's a lot of different versions of the magnetic motor in particular. There's a lot of different versions out there.
Yeah.
But there's some that are so simple, and I've seen some of these things work. What's his name? Yusuf Calhoun or something like that.
Yeah.
I put some links up before on this guy. I put the video up on the website, I think. But that one right there is the one that I'm using kind of as a template, and I'm excited. I would love to be able to start having the power company pay me for energy.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it's gonna happen, because really all you need to do is get one working for your house, and then sell one to your neighbor or a family member, and then somebody else would be like, "Hey, what the hell?"
Sell
is that?
one, hell! I just want to show other people how to build them. This is how I did it, and I have this skill set.
Yeah, not everybody has your skill set, Tom.
Yeah, well, it's if I can do it, anybody can.
Not everybody can be a fireman.
Not a fireman, Ramon.
No, you remember that? It was probably after your generation. There was a storybook where everybody wanted to be a fireman, and then everybody became a fireman, but there were no police officers, no doctors, and others.
So everybody wants to be a free energy generator construction person.
Yeah.
Well, we wouldn't have to worry about power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then everything else would be. Okay, so here's on the opposite side of that coin, Tom, and actually makes me, this kind of thing makes me really happy when I see this. Thousands hit Tokyo streets in anti-nuke protests.
Yay!
It makes me really happy because I don't want to use curse words because we have a young lady with us, but these politicians, they're like, we need more nukes. That's the new thing now. They need more nukes because of the whole 2020 Olympics game, and it's like, what? And they swear up and down that there's there's nothing else. There's nothing better.
Yeah. I forgot the title of the movie, but I watched a documentary. It's on Netflix. It was a pro-nuclear energy video. And there were some pretty good points brought out. But these guys were taken and given a tour of Fukushima and some of the disaster areas. And you did some research back into some of the big disasters, and it put them from being very hardcore pro-nuclear into on the fence nuclear. But they still, the whole overall gist of the movie was pro-nuclear when weighing and balancing all the other energy, the mass energy generation plants that we have out there right now. When they look at it compared to coal and natural gas and those sort of things, nuclear actually, I mean looking at it in that light, it does make more sense. But
yeah, for me, it still doesn't beat solar.
Oh no. Well, yeah, solar. We haven't. The technology's not out there to produce a solar cell that generates enough energy. From what I see, it takes up too big of a footprint to be able to generate really useful energy out of it.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, on a small scale, it can be useful, but
yeah, but I think if every home has that, and every
there's a lot of things to consider when you go solar. You got to have batteries, and batteries wear out. If you get 10 years out of a battery bank, you got really lucky with it. You did really well with that battery.
Yes, that's where other things jump in. There was this woman who was working. This was like 15 years ago. She was working on a bacteria battery that it had like two sets of bacteria. One was like positive charge and negative charge, and not only did the battery last longer than a normal battery at that time, 15 years ago, it also was biodegradable because it was made from all natural things, and she got the idea from looking at the Fibonacci sequence from shells and the way a seashell is put together. And so, when they say things like that, we have the answer. Everything we need is out there already. And as far as the footprint is like that, at the time he was like 12 or 13 years old, kid came up with the idea of using trick paint for solar panels. And the other kid who came up with the idea of putting them, in a Fibonacci sequence, getting a lot more power. So, people is just you need to put the puzzle together. It's from
Yeah,
everything I've
yeah.
seen, it's out there. But
And
let me finish
and
reading the story.
I,
Oh, go
I
ahead.
I also think that probably most of the solar panel companies are owned by the oil companies.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this last week, how it's just ridiculous price here. If you're gonna put up solar panels here, it's it's more than the down payment you put in your house. You're talking about 30, $40,000, and the average person can't afford that.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but then when you build one, is what, like less than $500?
It depends on well, not really, not if you're. It depends on how many watts you want to get out of it, or you need to get out of it to be able to do whatever you want to do with it. I mean,
Yeah, if you use the trick paint, that brings it even further down.
yeah.
For those of you who don't know what trick paint is, sorry. When if you ever see those cars that are painted, and when the sun hits it, it kind of changes color a little bit, that is called trick paint, and that has iron filings in it that gives it that different color when the sun hits it. So this young kid was able to figure out how to turn that into solar panels.
Yeah,
The
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, just ask the younger generation; they'll figure it out.
Right, there you go.
Yeah, but let me read this real quick, and then we'll jump into our guest. As the third anniversary of the Fukushima disaster nears, tens of thousands railed in the country's capital Sunday to protest against the nuclear industry and speak out against the government plans to resume nuke energy production to power the economy. I read that much, but I'm really glad, and there's a lot of foreigners here, and some of them listen to the show, that go out there every Friday, and they've been doing it for since the beginning. Go out there every Friday to protest, and I'm very proud of them for that. So, and one last thing, I almost forgot. I wanted to read that letter that a guest sent us, Tom. This is really
A
nice. I
listener.
won't. Yeah, a listener. Not a guest. Sorry. Um, I won't mention the name because I didn't get permission to read this, so I won't mention the name just in case. Uh, I found your site last night and became a 1 year member. I don't do subscription, but I made an exception with the two of you. Your tag team, along with serious subjects and a touch of humor, works. I must admit that I subscribe because I see that you have interviewed many more women than most. I thank you for that. And it's it's very touching because sometimes we do things and we put things out there, and it's just like ah you, because we do this out of the labor of love, and the money that is made from this goes right back into the show. So it's highly appreciated when we get these thank you letters.
Yeah,
um,
yeah. It's
Not
good
pushing
stuff.
anybody to write thank
Good
you letters,
stuff.
but
Good
yeah,
stuff.
it's very sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah. So we have someone we had before, and before you introduce her, I just have to say that she first came on the show in a different timeline, and then she came on this timeline, and I'll let her explain that one. But I really, really enjoyed her book, and any of you who ever gone through a death in the family, I recommend this book, which I guess is the whole population.
Hmm. We've got back with us on the 100th Monkey Radio tonight, Betsy Lewis. She's an author and internationally renowned psychic medium, Rainbow Vision Network radio host, and Earth Mysteries investigator. Inherited the gift of prophecy from her mother. Since childhood, the paranormal's been the normal for Betsy. At 8 months old, she experienced her first paranormal event with her parents on a country road in northwestern Idaho late at night when a horrendous noise enveloped their car. Years later, Betsy's uncle revealed the event involved 2 hours of lost time that couldn't be explained. By age 3, Betsy spoke to invisible playmates, and at age 7, she was chased home from first grade by a massive silver disc. Shortly after this event, she began to experience recurring dreams of cataclysmic earth changes taking place worldwide now. The following year, Betsy's beloved grandfather passed away and stood by her bed one night to validate his love from the other side. She continues to receive earth warnings, personal warnings, and validations of love from the spirits on the other side. Betsy's investigated UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, angels, aliens, and other earth mysteries for the past 40 years. She practices Reiki, Kriya Yoga, astrology, tarot and numerology, and past life hypnosis. During the 1990s, Betsy was mentored by Native American ceremonial and spiritual leaders on the natural way of life. Currently, she provides psychic readings for an international clientele. I want to thank you for joining us again on the 100th Monkey Radio, Betsy Lewis. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much. It's great to be on your show again.
So, Ramon, you want to take off?
Were you sending me away, or you mean start the questions?
Get out of here! I want to do this show.
Hey, you want to scram? Betsy,
Yes.
it seems like, from one point of view, it seems like someone took out a bat and said, "Hey, Betsy, look, whap!" And then every time you look the other direction, will whap you again.
Oh, no.
Because it seemed like one after another, just three or four people died, like almost consecutive, right?
You mean later in life?
Yeah,
In my book? Yeah, right. My father passed away and my stepfather, and later years my sister passed away. So yeah, I've had a lot of deaths, but I've had validation from all of them that, there is something on the other side. And I've always had that since the age of 3. They've come to visit me. So I feel very blessed to have all this psychic and spiritual visitations and validations from the other side. And let me tell you, there is another side. A lot of people say, well, I kind of believe in heaven and I'm not sure, I'm not sure if there's something to people communicating with the other side. But I can tell you, I've had so much communication. And recently, my sister, oh my goodness, has she been back? She's been incredible. And, I know she wanted me to write this book. She's just been so persistent. And of course, she still has her sense of humor. Oh my goodness. So I'll have to tell you about that in a few minutes.
So you call this new book Communicating with the Other Side, like Teresa Caputo? Is that how you pronounce the name?
No, Caputo.
Caputo, the Long Island medium. Who is Teresa Caputo? And I'm curious of why you actually added her in there in the subtitle.
Well, I knew you were going to ask me that, and I'm ready to answer that. She is quite famous now. She's got a show on TLC channel, and it comes on every Sunday, and she's been on every kind of talk shows, Dr. Oz, you name it. Kelly Ripa's show in the morning, just everybody. And she's just amazing because she's so spot on and she gives details. I know there's a lot of mediums out there, but she gives detailed information and she's so well known. Although, people are getting to know me already, and I've been on Coast to Coast 3 times now, and people from all over the world heard me. I'm still not known. And I thought, I admire her. I think she's great. She's funny. And I thought people could relate to that, so they can relate to my book and my experiences.
Great. Well, I'm gonna go with this. In this book, you talk about your second spirit visit from your grandfather.
Yes.
What happened in that experience?
Well, I love my grandfather. This was my paternal grandfather, and he always made me laugh. We just had a real bond, a real connection. And he was in northern Nevada mining, and he was walking up a hill and just collapsed from a massive heart attack. He was overweight and he died there. I was 8 years old at the time when he passed away, and I was devastated, just devastated. And I wanted to have some communication with him again, to tell him how much I loved him. And I just didn't get to say goodbye. And one night, our house that we lived in, it was really strange. Really weird things started to happen. There would be the floor creaking, which might have been settling, but there were things that would fall over. And one night I woke up in the middle of the night. There was a big, there was a light from a outdoor light that was shining through, and here was a gauzy form of a man, an apparition, standing over my bed and just looking at me. And it kind of looked like my father, and I wanted to scream out, and I couldn't. I was so scared, and I was paralyzed with fear. And when people say they're paralyzed with fear, I really was. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream out. And all I did, I finally pulled the covers over my head and kept saying, go away, go away. This is horrible. But the next morning it was gone, and I told my mother about it. She was very psychic, very intuitive, and these type of things, she understood. We could talk about anything. So I told her about my experience, and she said, I bet that was Granddaddy. You saw him when he was younger. And she pulled out a photo from our family album, photo album, and she said, is this Granddaddy? Is this what you saw last night? And there was a photo of him in his military outfit. He was very thin then. And I said, yes, that's the apparition. I didn't say apparition, but the ghost that I saw. And she says, well, Granddaddy must have heard you. And at the time, I didn't want to see, ghosts anymore. It scared me so bad. So I haven't seen ghosts. I've seen other things. I've seen flashes of lights. I'm clairaudient, which means I hear voices from the other side, which is really interesting. Sometimes they'll wake me up. They'll just call my name early in the morning and wake me up. And a few times I've had to tell them, if you don't have something to say to me, stop waking me up.
All right, I gotta sleep here.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes they can just invade your life. And like I said, I don't see spirits. I haven't. My sister came to visit not long ago, and all these strange things began happening. It was just incredible. But I thought I saw this brilliant light run down the hallway in the middle of the night, and I've felt her presence. But it's just been amazing. So all these things, even when I was 3 years old, I had things happening. My mother claimed that I had 2 invisible playmates, and I gave them names. I would describe them. They would tell me secrets, and of course I wouldn't share that with my mother. But a lot of children have invisible playmates, and I think they say until a child reaches 7 or 8, they actually see the spirit world. They see deceased relatives. They just communicate with the other side. And as we get older, we have family members that say, oh, you're just imagining things, you don't really see things, and we just lose that ability.
Right. So when you were young, you had a bit of a premonition about your sister, and I found that hilarious what you did to try to mediate that. You just share that with us if you would.
Well, I should preface that a little bit about my sister. She was 3 years younger, and she would always get into my clothes and return them either torn or just dirty or something. And I would get so mad at her, and we'd have some lively arguments and hair pulling, and but one day I had this premonition. It was so strong that she was going to die young. So what I did was, I thought, to appease the gods out there, and I don't know why I say gods, but I felt that way, and I sensed that if I made her walk backwards for the day and not step on any cracks in the sidewalk, that she would, avoid this fate. and I would change everything. And she did it. She must have thought I was crazy, but she did it. But she did pass away at age 50. And I think that is young. I must have seen that. I thought she was going to die as a young child, but she survived. But it's strange, all the things that happened. For a long time we were estranged, we didn't talk to each other, and some of the things that brought us back together again was just beyond coincidence. I know spirit brought us back together again. When I found my half sister who helped us reunite and reconcile, and moving back to California, she lived in Southern California at the time, and just some amazing things happened.
When I kind of want to step back into the beginning when a family member dies, because I think this is so important. Because everybody grieves in a different way, but what do you think is once you get the bad news, what's the first step that you think someone should take?
Everybody has their own way of grieving. And I know a lot of us have guilt that we didn't say goodbye to our loved ones, that we didn't hold their hand, that we didn't, just do things differently, that maybe we had an argument with them before they passed on. And, when they get on the other side, there's only love and caring about us. And that's not something that they see anymore. It's only us, that we're putting the guilt on ourselves and not them. We have to understand that, the other side is around us all the time. And anytime we call on them, they're there. They're instantly there. I was telling my sister, we used to talk about death, and before she died, long before she died. And I would tell her that, when you pass over, it's kind of like the movie with Robin Williams, What Dreams May Come. You visualize. Isn't it a great movie? I know.
Oh, it was so amazing.
I know. And all you do is think wherever you want to be instantly, whatever you want to move, whatever you want to do in the physical world, like you can move things and create things. It's all your pure energy on the other side. So your thoughts create anything instantly on that side. And I think she was a good study, or a great student, because she has learned how to manipulate a lot of things, a lot of electrical things around our house.
So doesn't that take a different form of energy, though, or focus from that side to be able to manipulate physical matter?
I think so. Yeah, it takes a little more energy, and I think she's learned how to do that quite well through the years.
I wonder if it's the same kind of system that you do when you're having an out-of-body experience. For those of you who've had it, I wonder if that's the closest thing to being on the other side.
Sure, absolutely. And, dreams also, when we dream, we astral project at night. We go to the other side. And, I'm going to tell you right now that you've never been more dead than you are right now at this very moment, because the other side is more alive. We are here. That's true. It's true. So, and, we think that, the only thing that separates us is vibration. And they are vibrating at a different rate than our physical world. So, and a lot of times, when they want to come over, there are ghosts out there. I want to say that there are people that have died tragically. There is that energy still left from that, just terrible things that have happened. Angry people that still haunt places. And it's sad that these souls don't realize that, they can go into the light, they can, be with their loved ones. They're very confused. If people believe in a hell, and I don't, I'm sorry, but I don't, they, if they believe in that, they create their own hell when they die. And if you believe in a heaven and you want to see angels when you pass over playing harps, that's great too. You can do that. But your spirit guides and family members that have passed over are there to greet you, and they're going to help you realize where you are and what it's all about on the other side.
Hopefully that they figured it out before you get there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not
You
to
know
say
what?
that, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say that I saw something funny earlier this week where someone you said you don't believe in a hell, and then there was a picture of the devil, and then a group of people from Monsanto came, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, that's the next floor down."
That's great.
Oh, sorry. So
I love it. I love it.
so you were gonna
Yeah.
say?
No. I was just listening to you. No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So, jumping back to the people on the other side, like for myself, I've had dreams
Hmm.
where I see the people and they're just looking at me. Like one particular, she was a neighbor and she passed away
Hmm.
2005, and then I had a really good friend of mine who passed away, and when he's in my dream, he always gives me this serious look. And I remember the look because it's the same kind of look that he would give me when I would, like he wouldn't agree with what I was doing. He would give me that same look. He hasn't done it in a while, but then the other lady, she's just there observing,
Uh-huh.
and in the dream I'm like with her family and stuff like that, and in the dream she's not dead. I'm
Right.
just so it's always weird when I have those dreams where they're not dead,
Hmm.
or even people I'm not close to, where I have a dream. There was this guy who passed away. I wasn't close to him at all, but he was there in my dream, and then the girl that he was dating was like, "Oh, he's not dead. He was just hiding in the other room," or something like that.
Hmm.
And I always wonder about those, especially if you're not close to them.
You know, we get validations many, many ways from deceased people that we've known, or family members. It doesn't have to be just a family member that comes over to communicate something that they want to tell you, or just to let you know that they're okay on the other side. A lot of times it could be something that you ate too. Dreams aren't always they're not always from the other side. A lot of times we dream of things that because we watch TV, there was something on TV that we watched that happened. But I always know when my dreams are real because they seem so real. And you know it was last July 9th that I had a dream about my sister, and it was so real. She was planning a birthday party for me, and I kept telling her, Kathy, it's not my birthday. It really isn't my birthday. And she says, I'm still planning this big party for you, this birthday party. And I went, no, but it's not my birthday. And she insisted it was. And to tell you a little bit more about my sister, she loved holidays. She would just go all out for holidays and birthdays. So later that day, I got a phone call from my daughter saying my granddaughter had given birth to a baby boy that day, earlier in the day, and that he wasn't due until August, which I knew. So my sister was celebrating the arrival of my great grandson, which I knew that was her way of saying, it wasn't my birthday, it
Huh.
really wasn't. So yeah, so I knew that was the first or the beginning of a lot of communication from my sister, and it's just gotten really strong. Again, she came to visit around Thanksgiving, and we had bought this little stereo to put in our kitchen, stereo radio, and suddenly it started going out by itself. It would just turn off, especially when we had it on the cool oldies station, which is really weird. It would go off like at 20 minutes to 7 in the morning, 20 minutes after. And the first time it did it, the song that was playing was the Everly Brothers, Kathy's Clown. And I used to sing that to her when we were teenagers. So I just knew it was Kathy. It was Kathy that was trying to communicate. And this went on forever. And she turned off my husband's computer. And it continued. And then after the holidays, it stopped. And we thought there was some electrical problem. But how can you explain that if it suddenly stopped? It was only on the radio station. And as soon as I finished doing my book, the activity is slowed down. And I just knew that that was her way. She wanted me to get this book done. She wanted to be in the book. And she is. So yeah, it was incredible. And I've got to say one thing, my cat reacted to her one night. This is really weird. He's never done this, but in the hallway, I have some pictures of my family and Kathy's on there, but all of a sudden he just reared up. And when a cat has their hair up, their hackles up, they just, there's something there. And he was hissing like crazy. And I went, Kathy, he sees Kathy. So yeah. I knew.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because sometimes I have, and I don't know, Tom, if you experience this, but sometimes I'll have the cat meowing into the other room, but nobody's there and the door is closed. And I don't know if that's because she likes going into that room too as well, or
it's when they stare into the blank corner, a corner that doesn't even have any pictures in it. They'll just be staring straight into that corner very intently.
Oh yeah.
And they'll fall like you can watch them, and they'll like follow something against a blank wall. Huh?
Cats are very psychic. Animals are all very psychic. I don't know if you saw that or heard about that cat at an old folks home, a care center, that the cat would always sit on the lap of the person that was going to die next. They always knew.
Ouch.
It was kind of eerie. Yeah.
I'd be like, keep that cat away from me.
Yeah.
Get off me.
Yeah. But it's amazing. Yeah. So go ahead.
I was going to kind of head off in a little bit different direction, still on the other side there, but I'm curious about soul groups and soul families, et cetera, and what you've learned about them. I mean, I have a very strong sense that the majority of the people that are in my life have been intimately connected with me forever. Mm-hmm. What have you experienced along those lines?
I believe that many of the people in our group, in our family relationships, we've known in past lives, and we incarnate together. I believe that we all have the choice if we want to be in the same families. Just like the lamas, like the Dalai Lama, they reincarnate and they remember their past lives. There's many children that incarnate over in India and the Mideast that reincarnate very quickly instead of waiting a little bit longer, and they remember their past lives. And a lot of the new children coming in right now remember these past lives. They're very intuitive. They speak to spirit. And it's amazing. But yes, I'm sure, the people that I get that feeling all the time when I meet someone for the first time. You get that feeling like you've known them forever, right?
Right.
And then there's other people that just, you want nothing to do with them. There's, and maybe something happened in a past life, but I've had that happen too. Right. So we all have that. But I think like this flight 370 that went down in the ocean, they think it went down in the ocean. I think people like that die en masse have chosen that to go that way. And these people will come back again, they'll incarnate again, and it will be a different situation. But a lot of people like to go together. and I think we choose the way that we die. Some people like to go with a bang, you might say. They want, they do,
Go out in a
and
blaze of glory.
right, they do. Yeah, like a comet streaking across the sky, and others want to go quietly and peacefully, So I think we all have our choices, and we made those choices before we came over and we were
You know,
born.
what I find, I haven't heard any about in this flight, but there's always, when you have those big disasters, there's always one or two stories that I love these stories in the sense like this person's always on time, they never, and in that one day they oversleep. Or that's the one day they get into an
Right,
argument with
right.
somebody they always been, get along with, or just different
Mm-hmm.
examples. Like
Mm-hmm.
there was one, the 9/11, I lived in New
Right.
York at the time, and there's a story where the girl, first day at work, and she oversleeps.
Hmm.
So she
You know,
didn't make on time to work.
that's not an accident. I don't believe that's an accident. Our guardian angels or spirit guides or whoever you want to call, they're there and they protect us and they warn us that when it's not your time to go, you're not going to go, and they're going to prevent it. They're there. And, I've had several near-death experiences that I know I was saved by the other side.
Right. Why
Yeah.
would I mean? Where are you at on fate or destiny?
I believe that we all have free will. And I believe that, like I said, we kind of make our plan for ourselves when we're first, before we come into this life. We want to do this, we want to do that. And, we kind of set down those little parameters for our life, but we can create our own reality, our own life. And, we can follow those little paths that we make. I know a lot of times I get that feeling that something's happened before, and maybe I am kind of jumping in the future, or I remember what I planned out, and our guardian angels or spirit guides help us on the other side plan out our life. Most people, it is believed that reincarnate every 100 years. You wait 100 years before you come back into a physical body, which is kind of interesting. But it's better, they say, to wait and kind of review, have that past life review or your current review of your life, because everything that you said and anything that you did and even thought, you are going to have this review, anything good, anything bad. So it's kind of painful, I guess, according to people that have had near-death experiences, when they have this life review. Anyway, I shouldn't say past life, but life review. So you got to watch what you say and what you do, or it's all being written down.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it kind of it kind of seems like that process is speed up a lot because
Hmm.
I hear a lot more people, their in between lives is a lot shorter than it used to be,
Hmm.
in the more ancient times.
Hmm.
Um, well, for example, actually, Tom, you're a wonderful example.
Hmm.
You want to share
Yeah.
that story?
Yeah. Well, I had kind of a glimpse into another life, and
Oh, wow.
I had, and this was in it was a really deep meditation, and I found myself in the body of somebody else whose name happened to be Tom, and
Oh,
I was at a lake, and my mother was there, and
oh,
she
wow.
was like 16 years old, and they were a big family picnic. Everybody was there. We were playing, just swimming in the lake, and I gave her I it was time to eat, and I wanted to go jump off the cliff one more time before I ate. So I gave her a kiss and took off and went and jumped off this big rock, and that's when this Tom died. So and I recounted there's a lot more detail into this, to what I experienced there, but I actually recounted this story to my mother, and her face just turned white, her jaw drops open, and she was like, "Oh my God!" It was quite remarkable, actually. So, and that was about 2 years before I was born.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's interesting, Tom. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're very intuitive.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh, it was 2 years before you were born?
I think it was about a year and a half.
Oh,
Yeah,
I always assumed he was your father.
No, I found this detail out here actually after that
Oh,
experience that I relayed last year. I just had
yeah.
this last year, by the way. And after I relayed that to my mom, I got the minutia of all the dates and everything. And
Oh, okay. Because I know for a while you thought he was your father.
yeah, I thought at first when I first thought it, I was like, "Oh my God, am I my own dad?" Yeah, that would be interesting.
That reminds me of a story I heard on a late night show. It was Coast to Coast, actually, and a man called in and said that he kept having this dream of babies and in water, and it was so clear. He said it was the most beautiful place he had ever seen. And then his son, years later, he married and he had a little boy, and the little boy, when he was older, came to him and said one day, he said, "Daddy, I'm so glad you and Mom are my parents. The last parents I had were mean to me." He says, "Do you remember when we were somewhere and played with the babies in the water?" And he had never told a soul about this story. He just couldn't believe what his son, they were on the other side.
Wow.
And isn't that amazing?
Wow, there
Yeah.
are people have. I mean, I think everybody has some story along those lines to relate. Something that is, for lack of a better term here, metaphysical experience that they've had. That but most people don't put a whole lot of stock in those things.
Right.
Yeah,
As a general rule.
there's that I don't know if you ever looked into him, that famous Russian kid who remembers living in Mars and the wars on Mars, and he talks about
No.
his a little bit. Yeah, this was, I forgot how long ago he said it happened, and he just tells what happened on Mars, like between the wars and some Martians, evacuating to Earth, and the cracking of the planet and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
pretty interesting story.
Yeah,
Those are the new children coming in. They're just amazing children, and they have all kinds of talents and gifts, and they're just changing the world. That's what they want to do right now, and they are with, with art, with science, with math. I've seen some of these children that are already creating charities for third world countries out there, bringing them water. It's just amazing what they're doing.
inventions.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
There's a lot of these, and the political ones too. They're just like really powerful. There's the girl who I always talk about, who's like the GMO. She went on I always forget her name. Do you remember her name, Tom?
I don't.
She went on a talk show, like I think it was CNN, Tom, was it?
I don't remember which one though.
Oh Jesus, Tom, you're useless.
Oh no.
Um, she went on
Feel the
some,
love.
yeah, right. And we've been doing this for a few lifetimes. Um,
You have.
there was, I'm trying to remember. Anyway, they were on a talk show, and this man, like, she said, she had told the man, let's debate this, because he was like talking down upon the people who were GMO, and she was only 14 at the time, and this is an older man in his 40s or 50s, and she debated him so beautifully that the man had nothing else but to attack the the people. He couldn't attack her information, because everything he says, yeah, but this helps feed, a lot more people. And she says, actually, it doesn't. And this university, and da, 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 and she would like hit him with facts. and then he'll come up with something else, and she'll hit him with more facts, and all he can do is like, I think you're being manipulated, because just couldn't he couldn't attack her information.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some amazing kids coming in nowadays. And this takes me back to that question about fate and destiny. I mean,
Yes.
and when I look at humanity as a collective, we're the 100th monkey radio. The 100th monkey theory has to do with collectives, and the group, the species group. I have a feeling that as a collective, we have a plan here that we want to carry out. And we're doing that by, a little bit here, and everybody's playing their little parts to bring about a ultimate final, goal, or at least go in a final collective direction.
I believe that too. I believe that, Tom. And, I think right now there's a spiritual war going on. I think it's the white hats against the black hats or dark hats. And right now there are those that want to destroy Earth, and they're doing a great job right now, doing their best to destroy with nuclear plants and with fracking and with the oil. I know there was just another huge oil spill off the coast of Texas now, and all that oil is it's killing the wildlife. We had the Gulf BP experience, and of course Fukushima, what's going on there, and I don't think we still know.
And off the coast of Africa too, there was one there that no one ever talked about.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, it happened around the same time as the one in
the BP one in the Gulf, yeah.
Yeah, it happened around the same time as that. So, yeah, I almost feel like these things are done on purpose, because
they are.
The stupidity behind it. It's like, no, that has to be on purpose. I really think highly of my species. I don't think we're that stupid. Yeah.
There's just too many of us right now, 7 billion people, and we're just using up everything in our environment, destroying our ecology. And we're going to have to learn how to live in harmony with Earth, Mother Earth, because we just, this is just too much for her. And to continue this way, what's going to be left? I've been with many Native American spiritual leaders that have talked about how we're destroying the earth, and we have to start learning to respect Mother Earth and all living things. Everything has a consciousness. Everything has a spirit. Everything is evolving. Even the rocks out there, they're amazing. Everything has a vibration. And when people, it makes me so upset when I see how animals are misused and abused. That's one thing that just, I just can't handle that. I hate that. And, the thing is, people have to realize that when they harm animals, it does count on the other side. It does. And they are evolving too. They have a place, and Creator created everything, and everything, like I said, has a consciousness, intelligence. I believe that our pets and animals out there do have souls, and the authors that write about animals not having souls, I think they're totally wrong, because animals do have intelligence. They have their own little personalities, and I'm sure you know that.
And their own little dramas.
They do. They have emotions. They have reasoning. How could they not have a soul?
Right.
Come on. That's like saying we don't have souls.
Yeah, Tom, didn't one of your dogs is
I'm sure of it. I have 3 Chihuahuas.
Oh.
And prior to the Chihuahuas, I had a Dalmatian and a mutt. And a few years ago, my Dalmatian, he was like 8 years old. He got really sick. I mean, really bad. And they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him. And he just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And he got to the point where he just couldn't eat and he could hardly move. So I put him down. And it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. I mean, I bawled like a baby for hours. And I cried more. I cried more for my pet. Putting my pet down. I cried more for that than any person that I've ever known who's died. It was just amazing for me, the experience. But anyways, I put him down, and then we decided that at this point I had one Chihuahua already, a female, and I decided I was going to get another. I was going to get a male, so I'd have a breeding pair. And I started looking online, and it was like the first dog I looked at. Name was Bandit, and that was my dog's name, was Bandit. And this Chihuahua's name was Bandit. And it was just like immediate. It was it. That was it. Okay, so so I got him, and he's got the same mannerisms. He smiles the same. It's the same dog. It's the same dog, just about 75 pounds lighter.
Oh my goodness!
He can get on my lap now, and he's really happy about that. And because as the Dalmatian, he was just way too big to be a lap dog. And and he always wanted to be on my lap. And this Chihuahua, he is constantly on my lap. I mean, he's a daddy's boy. So.
How cute is that?
Yeah. So I'm sure it's the same soul.
I think so, and I believe animals reincarnate. There's many stories like yours that the animal they've end up with another pet that's just like the one before with the same mannerisms. How can that be?
Right.
And people have seen their spirit animals when they pass over. So I know that they do, reincarnate like we do. And they are on the other side with us, when we pass over. They're there. They're just part of our family.
But you had a confirmation about that too as well, right? With one of your dogs, was it, passing?
This was in Sonoma, California, Northern California, and she was a black and tan hound, smartest, most beautiful dog. And of course, they have, the weeds out there. They're barbed, and she ended up getting that. Somehow it went through her system. But I had a dream so vivid of an angel coming to me, or my spirit guide, and she said, it's time, I have to take your dog Hallie with me. And I kept pleading, please don't take Hallie. She said, it's time for her to go. So it ended up that the barbed weed that had moved through her foxtail ended up going into her spine and paralyzing her back legs. And there was nothing we could do but to put her down. But, I knew, that it was meant to be. It was just the angel came, or the spirit guide came to tell me it was time. And I guess we all have a time when we need to go.
Yeah.
So that brings up the whole thing about suicide, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, I guess that really doesn't segue too well, but I mean, we intentionally put the pet down. So I suppose that's more of would fall into a different category, but
Right.
Suicides, there's a lot of debate out there on whether or not, suicide is absolutely wrong.
Well, it depends what kind of suicide you're talking about, Tom. If it's someone who's like, let's say, dying of cancer and is in extreme pain, that's one thing versus the person who's really depressed and is still young and,
Yeah, but I guess the big debate out there, or one of the big points from at least one side of the debate, is that if you commit suicide, you're damned to hell. You're damned forever.
Right. I don't believe that. Well, I believe that if you are selfish and you're doing it because you don't like the way somebody treated you or something like that, then you are, our bodies are part of God, and what we're doing is killing a part of God when we do that. And so I believe that a suicide where someone's terminally ill, they're in pain, that's okay. That's understandable. But we are not condemned to hell. The thing is, there isn't a God that's going to sit there and judge us. We judge ourselves. And, that's the part that's probably the hardest, because we judge ourselves, and we have to heal ourselves and forgive ourselves for what we've done. And a lot of people decide that when they take their lives selfishly, then they come back to, in some way, to make up for that, to learn that lesson of honoring themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like dreams.
What dreams may come. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's an excellent
again.
story about suicide and how it's recovered. I really resonated with that movie as far as the accuracy of the type of situation that a person can get themselves into from doing that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I've always felt that, there are different suicides, and, I think it just depends on the situation. And I'm not saying that suicide is right when somebody, there's mentally ill people, and, that's understandable. There is that forgiveness, and they still need to heal on the other side. I think that but I think, in certain situations where the person knows they're dying, or, they're just in a situation where they're being tortured, or some place, in some third world country, and then that's understandable. And,
right. Or the situation where the patient is in like a coma or something like that, or they're brain dead, and the only reason why their body's alive is because of machinery.
Right.
Is that considered a suicide when you unplug it, or is...
I don't think so.
No.
And I think that the person hears you still, their conscious mind is still there, although they can't communicate. I know that when I was a candy striper, when I was in my teen years, there was a lady that had a stroke, and I would feed her and I would talk to her all the time because I knew she would understand. I could see it in her eyes. She couldn't talk, and, I helped feed her and everything, but I knew she understood what I was saying. So, I think that would be something I would want. I certainly wouldn't want to be a vegetable forever.
I'm a quality of life guy.
Yeah.
Once quality of life dips below a certain level, I think it's justified.
Right.
Yeah.
That's it's my opinion. So. Okay, well, we've burned up this hour already.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Sorry.
It happens. So, well, I would urge all you guys out there who have not checked out Betsy Lewis to pop on over to her website, which is, by golly, it's betsylewis.com. You can find all her stuff there. Her new book is there, and along with the other 4 books, right, Betsy? Total of 5 now?
Yeah, I think it is. I've got some children's books too on there. So yeah, there's quite a few of them now. I've lost count, guys.
Oh, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, that's BETSEYLEWIS.com. And if you are not a member to the 100th Monkey Radio yet, I would urge you to pop on over to our website. That's www.the100thmonkeyradio.com, and become a member and help support Ramon and I and all that we're doing.
So, Tom, where are we gonna go in the next hour? Just to get.
Well,
because there's many places we can go with Betsy, and we've only been doing concentrating on the book for the first hour, but
right. Well, I wanna dip into a little bit of the prophetic dreaming that she's had through her lifetimes for sure. We're definitely gonna touch on that a little bit, and then something about the numbers. She has a lot of. Some amazing stuff that's synchronous for her personally in her life. That good old number 7, and maybe touch on that and 13 a little bit, and then wherever else the wind blows us. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in the second hour. Condemnation without investigation is the height of ignorance.
The love you deny is the pain you carry.
And what was the music, Ramon? Pick up the call, right? It is now. It's Perry Mills. Pick up the call. Taking us out.
Stop and feel that you've been missing along the way. Put aside your petty fight, serve your dignity. You've got to show the heart that you've been hiding and set it free. There's just one door in a world gone wrong. We all need love, and if the cure for one is the cure for us all, there's an urgent message trying to reach you. Excuse yourself and pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. It came the same way the very next day. The words they just kept on coming through. Hard to conceive if you believe me. This is what you really want to do. You got to tune into your inner being. Now let it be. You got to activate your inner vision. Now let it see. Cast out the doubt, the mindless chatter. Now let it go. It's time to tap into the heart of the matter. 'Cause don't you know, there's just one door in a world gone wrong. We all need loving. And if the cure for one is the cure for all, step right up and don't be shy. Excuse yourself and pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call. Now one more time before I go, one last thing you need to know, my friends. You want to keep it complicated, it's really all quite simple in the end. You got to tune into your inner being. Now let it be. You got to activate your inner vision. Now let it see. Cast out the doubt, the mindless chatter. Now let it go. It's time to tap into the heart of the matter. 'Cause don't you know, there's just one door in a world gone wrong. We all need loving. And if the cure for one is the cure for us all, step right up and don't be shy. Got to look yourself right in the eye. There's a magic moment trying to meet you, an urgent message trying to reach you. The phone is ringing off the wall, so pick up the call. You gotta pick up the call.